Welcome to Jumping Bomb Audio.
Welcome back, everyone, to Jumping Bomb Audio, the show all about the world of joshi pro wrestling. My name is Taylor, once again here with Kelly. Kelly, hello again.
Howdy, everybody. I watched SummerSlam last night, and I'm upset about it.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm currently in the midst of going through a hurricane. Hurricane Henry is swinging through my town, so it's a very rainy day here. I originally got a big emergency notification on my phone, one of those that makes that terrible alarm sound no matter where you are.
Those are the worst.
That was like, do not go anywhere or you will be killed by this hurricane, even though it's been mostly sort of like light rain. So I think it was a little bit overhyped.
If you look in the sky like a turkey when it's raining, you'll drown.
Yes. But they were like, do not go anywhere. Do not attempt to leave your current area. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm in my house, and I will stay in my house and just watch the rain out the window. But that is what I am currently going through. I did not watch SummerSlam last night, and it sounds like that was the correct decision.
Yeah, it was a bad time. I saw on Twitter during the show that Missy Hyatt made a much better choice and watched the DDT Peter Pan show instead, and I wish I was her.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, did you tweet through SummerSlam?
No, I reviewed SummerSlam over on the Voices of Wrestling, along with my good pal Garrett and Wrestling Omakase's own John Carroll.
Wow, a big crew there.
Yeah.
You didn't tweet through that, but I did see you did tweet on our Twitter account.
I did.
Through the Tokyo Joshi shows that we're about to cover.
Yeah, you can go there and see some of my thoughts. I'm sure I'll probably say very close to the same things on here, but who knows? That was like a week ago. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, you can go to JBomb Audio on Twitter, or you can find us individually. I'm at Tay Mambo, and Kelly's at Comic Geek Kelly. So you can see all of his thoughts and all of our thoughts. Also, subscribe to this show. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a rating, or give us a rating and give us a review. A nice review, please.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling very generous, you can donate to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumpingbomb-audio. So today we are going to, speaking of those Tokyo Joshi shows, we are going to cover both the August 14th and August 15th Tokyo Joshi Korakuen shows. We are going to touch on the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix Korakuen Hall show, the surprise, the only show they had in the last 2 weeks. And we will talk about that. We'll talk all about the standings, and then we'll go into all the other Joshi shows that have been happening over the last 2 weeks and give you a preview of the upcoming 2 weeks. So the first thing, Tokyo Joshi had 2 Korakuens. The first Korakuen was on August 14th. As I said, at Korakuen Hall, 437 people for the semifinals of the Tokyo Princess Cup. The first match of the night, Kaya Toribami and Nao Kakuta defeating Mahiro Kiryu and Yuki Aino when Kakuta pinned Kiryu with the Shiden Kai. Kelly, what do you think of this match?
Well, first, I want to say just how much I really enjoy the English commentary team right now with Chris Brooks and Balianaki. They're so much fun, and I really, really enjoy them doing commentary on these Tokyo Joshi shows.
Yeah, they are. I thought they were excellent. I thought they clearly were enjoying themselves, having a good time, but were also very knowledgeable about everything going on, especially Chris Brooks, uh, who knew a lot. So it was fun, but also you learned a lot.
Yeah. Brooks, I've said for a little while now, is kind of like a low key MVP of Japanese wrestling almost right now, where it's like he can do almost everything. Where it's just like, oh, cool, he can do commentary, he can wrestle a good match, he can have a great feud, he can do cool produce shows. Like I'm
Yeah,
glad to have him in Japanese wrestling.
and he is really a lot of different places right now. So clearly, I think people in Japan agree with you.
Yeah, but yeah, this match was good. It was a solid opener. Mahiro showed. They talked about in commentary. Mahiro showed a lot of fire in this match. That was cool. And Kaya Toribami, just again, cool as hell. One of my favorite rookies of the year so far.
Yeah, although unfortunately, we learned recently that Kiryu has, I believe, a neck issue. I don't think they've said a whole lot about that, but I think she will be out for at least a little while they get that checked out.
Oh no.
Uh, which we hope that it's no big deal and she'll be back in a couple shows, but we don't know. I also thought Toribami looked good, although I think we're now at the point with Toribami where we've sort of seen sort of a debuting rookie has the first couple matches where you're sort of watching, um, you're seeing things you haven't seen because they're a totally new person. I think now that we've gotten the picture of who she is, and I'm interested to see where sort of she goes from here in terms of growth. I think we're sort of now at the sort of step two of a career. The first one is you debut, you have those first couple matches. There's sort of the excitement of, oh, this is a new person. What are they like? What do they look like in the ring? What's their personality like? And now we're sort of at step two, um, to seeing where she goes from here as, now a more established member of the roster. I'm sure based on Tokyo Joshi's past, that we'll probably be seeing some new rookies before long, and soon she will be she won't be the youngest or one of the youngest members of the roster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see her grow because, like, right now she doesn't have much of a personality besides she's pretty smooth in ring and has a cool mask.
Yeah, and that is, that's part of we will see as she grows. I think when you're a rookie, sort of just getting in the ring, getting through the matches is sort of enough as, just saying, well, you're very young and can you, go out there and not, have something fall apart, just be able to go out there, have the match. And now, as she grows, she will have also higher expectations on her, in addition to the fact that she sort of debuted with these high expectations because of the sort of high flying athletic style that she has. So maybe she has a little bit higher of a bar than maybe the traditional rookie who debuts and is only sort of doing a very traditional rookie style of, simple moves, one or two moves, one, finisher and things like that. So that is something I am looking forward to because I think she has a lot of potential. I think most people would probably agree with me on that. But looking forward to see where she goes from here.
Yeah, she definitely goes on the list of 25 rookies that are better than Dominic that I promised I would make in my SummerSlam review.
I have to say, I'm very proud of myself. I have never seen a Dominic match, and the Dominic dialogue, as I'll call it, is over my is over my head.
I said
I
last
feel,
night he's really good if this is his first match. But like he's been doing this for a year now and he has not improved whatsoever. So it's like DDT and Tokyo Joshi alone have debuted like almost 6 rookies that are better than him in that span.
yeah, Joshi usually, I would say, on the whole, um, already, I think most joshi rookies are at the higher end in terms of rookie debuts, are
Oh
usually
yeah,
at the higher end of debuts as it is already.
yeah, for sure.
So the second match of the show, Arisa Endo and Suzume defeated Mirai Mayumi and Moka Miyamoto when Suzume pinned Miyamoto with the ring a bell. This is a match I thought was excellent. I went in not with low expectations, but the second match on the card, I thought, oh, this will be a fun match. There's, a group of wrestlers that I really enjoy, but they really impressed me with this match. I thought it was really good. I actually went 4 stars just because it really caught me by surprise how much I enjoyed this match. I thought Mocha looked really good, sort of with the karate punches and things like that. I thought she fit in really well. It was a really cool not clash of styles, but different styles with Mayumi's more power-based offense, Suzume sort of flying around with the updated. She has updated gear now, so I just really dug this match. I thought it was really great and a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was really good. It was it kind of shows you a little bit of the rookie pecking order to have Endo on the winning team as opposed to Miyamoto, on the losing team and taking the fall. And it was also kind of fun to see the what's the tag? B-Star team go up against each other on opposite sides. That was fun.
In the third match, Hyper Misao, Nadoka Tenma, and Yuki Kamafuku defeated Aja Kong, Haruna Neko, and Raku when Kamafuku pinned Neko with the Famouser in 11 minutes and 42 seconds. I was very happy that Aja Kong originally was scheduled for just the second show, the show on August 15th, which we'll talk about in a second. Glad that she was on the show as well. I thought that this was another really fun match. Aja Kong, I think, is super fun in Tokyo Joshi in general. I think that she brings a sort of fun difference of style, sort of the more hard hitting style, but also is able to sort of lean into the comedy, be funny, especially with Hyper Misao in this match. They gave her a cape at the beginning and then did the cold spray, sort of jumped her with the cold spray. But I thought this was another match that was really fun.
Asha Kong is kind of like your ideal legend veteran, where she'll come in and doesn't entirely have to take herself seriously. Like they did a bunch of fun stuff here, can still deliver. Like that's what you want out of a legend like that, where it's like you're not gonna necessarily put him in the main event, but just go out there, put people over. It was great. I really enjoyed this. Misao continues to be more of a villain than a hero, I will say.
Wow,
Uh,
that might be a controversial statement. She's
I
a hero
know,
to all the people.
I know she is, but
Uh,
you know, they tricked Aja Kong. They made a nice bin for her and then just hit her with it. Like what are you doing?
I am waiting to see when this very powerful team of Aja Kong and Raku explodes.
They should go for the
Uh,
tag titles.
as I know that Raku has, there has been some talk about them having a match, but they could team, and then we'll see what happens. But I think that's a match that a lot of people want to see Aja Kong versus Raku, uh, which is hard to believe. Um, but I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The fourth match on the card, Neobashiki Gun, Mei San Michel, Saki Sama, and Yukio San Laurent defeated Antonio Honda, Palm Harajuku, and Rika Tatsumi when Saki Sama submitted Palm Harajuku with the Versailles foot choke. As I've talked about on the show before, I am uh, not an expert when it comes to the names of moves. I got these finishes from the Dramatic DDT blog, a great blog if you're not aware for both DDT, Gambare, Tokyo Joshi, a lot of things. So I got the Versailles foot choke from there, and that's a great name of a move. That's the first thing I'll say. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on this match?
I loved this match. Neo Bishiki-gun is just the best. This match really was like, it taught us life lessons. Because, it showed that while steroids are very cool and they're a lot of fun, they won't necessarily let you win the match. I mean, the Tonio Honda, Pam Harajuku, and Rika got all hyped up on roids or whatever that was that Yukio had, but they still couldn't pull out the win because they're not the team that Neo Bishiki-gun is.
This actually, and this is really the big match that stood out to me, but this match felt to me a lot like a DDT sort of card in terms of its build, in terms of its makeup of, the types of matches, and that you've got some of the sort of opening matches. You bring in someone like Aja Kong, someone from the outside in a match that's sort of interesting. And then this, to me, this Neo Bishiki-gun match felt really to me like a DDT match that you would see on one of their Korakuen shows in terms of, I mean, obviously Antonio Honda is there, which is a big thing, but sort of the weird stuff they were doing. It was very helpful in this match to have the English commentary with Aki translating what was going on. I liked Aki talking about, Honda was injected with the substance, whatever the substance was in that needle. And he got really excited and he started injecting it in other people. And Aki's sitting on commentary going, "Oh, the crowd is chanting for doping. The crowd is chanting for doping." That, and then when the Gone the Fox story came up, and Aki was like, "Well, I won't translate any of this because it might get us kicked out of here." But yeah, just a fun match, a really great. I thought the match was good on its own, but a great sort of change of pace, especially right before we got to sort of the higher up matches on the card that are a little bit more serious. And then after the match, May Saint Michel asking or hoping that maybe the former maid of Neo Bishiki-gun, Martha, might come back to tag with her. And I think that would be exciting. It's very exciting to see these members of Neo Bishiki-gun who we have not seen in quite a while. Yukio Saint Laurent back here. I also liked during the match when Honda got injured, quote unquote, that they were like, "Oh, they're looking for a doctor. They're looking for a doctor." And I think Chris Brooks just went, "He's standing on the apron. He's a doctor." The yelling in the stethoscope.
That was funny.
"Oh, I have appendicitis," or whatever he was saying. And then he just yells in the stethoscope. So yeah, overall, a really, one of those matches. It's hard. I don't know that I gave it like a star rating because it's sort of hard to, be like, "Oh, great,"
Yeah.
it's a 4-star comedy match, but really one I thought that was really great. One of my favorites on this show, and one worth watching from the show.
This is like a prime match for them to put on YouTube because they'll put up the occasional match up there. Like this is perfect where you can just send it so and be like, "Hey, look, this is what Tokyo Joshi and DDT offer. This kind of fun."
Yeah, and especially with including that English commentary to have someone come in and be able to, because, a lot of times in DDT, I really like DDT, but you watch a sort of match like this that has a lot going on without English commentary, and some of it is funny because I think, someone like Honda is naturally funny and that sort of transcends exactly what he's saying. But it is super helpful to be like, here's exactly what's going on. Because sometimes you can watch those matches and be like, "Oh, this is funny, but I don't really understand what's happening." With people, especially with this, people are having needles. People are injecting each other with the needles and things like that. So yeah, this would be an excellent choice for going up on YouTube. The next match was the Yuka Sakazaki AEW return match. Yuka coming back from her brief trip to AEW. Yuka and Hikari Noah ended up the winners, defeating Marika Kobashi and Miyu Yamashita in 11 minutes and 56 seconds when Sakazaki pinned Kobashi with the magical merry-go-round. This is one of the matches where I didn't think this match was bad, but I feel like sometimes there are these sort of matches on Tokyo Joshi shows where they're sort of close to the top, but they're not a main event. They're not a title match that have good people in it. Noah, Sakazaki, all four of them, obviously Yamashita, Kobashi, they're all good. And I was really looking forward to this match. But this sort of feels to me like a spot on these Tokyo Joshi shows that is always very hard for them to sort of figure out the match structure, where I get excited for these matches. I'm like, wow, it's four really great people. They're in a tag match. It should be really good. And I think because they're not in the main event, they sort of say, well, we shouldn't go all out. And I leave a lot of these matches feeling like it wasn't bad, but I don't really feel all that strongly about it. It certainly didn't meet my expectations, which were, not super high, but high. And it feels like this has sort of become a consistent pattern on these Korakuens, where the sort of last non-major match on the show is one that I'm like, oh, they include some great wrestlers. I'm like, oh, this will be really great. And it never quite lives up to what I think it will in my head.
Yeah, it's weird. You could just cut this match out of the show, and I don't think my enjoyment level of the show as a whole would have gone up or down at all. It was fine. It was a fine match, but it was kind of just a non-entity. Like, I honestly don't remember like anything about it. Like, I know I saw it, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see going forward. I don't know if it's maybe it could just be a sort of quote unquote in-house decision to say, well, don't go out there and go crazy because, we have, two main events. I mean, two sort of main events here with the Tokyo Princess Cup, where you don't want to overshadow. And I think with these four, you probably could go out and have a match that overshadows it, but I think they don't want to do that. But I think that sometimes maybe doing that, you say, well, the match ended up really being sort of nothing, and you've used, you have four people who are pretty talented that have then just sort of gone out, and it's like, meh, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's not it's not the end of the world. It's not an end of the world thing that they do, but just the strain. It's sort of a pattern that I've seen from the last. Now they're having much more frequent Korakuen Hall shows, and it seems to be a recurring theme on these shows.
Yeah, it just didn't add anything. Like, I think you could separate these four out and put them in different undercard matches, and then you might get more just fun exchanges between wrestlers you wouldn't normally see, and that would be something. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't work for me. It was there. It happened, and I'll never think about it again, I guess is the way to put it.
Well, speaking of the bigger matches on this card, the first of the two biggest matches on this card, the Tokyo Princess Cup 2021 semifinal match number 1, Shoko Nakajima defeating Miyu Watanabe in 12 minutes and 27 seconds with the Locomotion Northern Lights suplex. Kelly, what did you think of the first of two Princess Cup semifinal matches?
I really like this. I like that there was just a nice, simple, clear story of Nakajima's just being a veteran against Watanabe's strength. It was a fun match. I thought they were really good. It was kind of clear that Nakajima was going to win, but there was still a couple times where Watanabe made me think she was going to pull it out.
I thought Watanabe looked really, really great in this match. I actually thought she I don't know if the match itself was better, but I thought she looked better than she did in her title challenge against Rika Tatsumi from earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think this was her best singles performance.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. She looked really great. Her offense looked really great. She seemed very confident in what she was doing, and it just seemed like Um, she seemed like, oh, this is a wrestler with some, sort of power behind her. Really looked like a strong wrestler, even in losing. There was a lot
Yeah,
of things where I was like, whoa, she looks really great. Um, the finish definitely caught me by surprise at only 12, under 12 and a half minutes. I was like, oh, that was a quick match, um, which to me didn't hurt the match. I think they probably could have gone longer and maybe it would have, got a bit better. I went 3 3/4 on this match. So
same.
I thought it was a solid, very good outing. I totally understand why, you wouldn't want Watanabe going all the way to the finals and then losing. So she loses here to a sort of more established, as they mentioned on commentary a couple times, you know, Shoko Nakajima now has been to 5 of the 8 finals of the Tokyo Princess Cups, because this is the 8th Tokyo Princess Cup, which I thought was an interesting stat, but it also sort of gives me that sort of out with saying, well, this is someone who's very talented, who has been to these finals before. Um, so overall, I thought it was very strong, a great quote unquote semi-final match for this card.
Yeah. Yeah, it really like Nakajima is kind of just their go-to girl where it's like, okay, we need someone to put in the big spot. Nakajima, you go. Like and she delivers each time, so it's a smart move to have someone like that in your roster.
And then the main event of this first Korakuen Hall show, Maki Ito against Mizuki. Maki Ito defeating Mizuki in 18 minutes and 39 seconds when Ito submitted Mizuki with the Ito Deluxe. A match that I thought was very, very good. I went 4.25 stars on it. It's funny because this and the next main event for the next show that we'll talk about, I thought that they were both very strong matches, but I connected more strongly sort of with the emotion of the match rather than the, just straight in-ring work. I thought the in-ring work was very good. It isn't that I thought the in-ring work was bad, but I found that when the match ended, I was much more invested sort of in the emotion of the match, sort of the backstory, with the Ito Respect Army past of this match, then I was sort of with a straight sort of, oh, how many near falls were there? How many, big moves were there? But overall, an excellent match, an excellent end to the first show, and really a great, um, I guess I would say, propellant for someone watching to say, oh, I would be interested to see tomorrow what happens with this final match.
Yeah, and I think that just speaks to Maki Ito's strengths as a wrestler. Like she's improved leaps and bounds in ring, but she's still just at her best as like a character and doing that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that the emotional aspect is what grabbed you with this one. I loved this match. I thought it was great. I ended up going 4.5 stars on it. I really think this should have been the finals. Like, if you could have just restructured the bracket to put them on the opposite sides, I think that would have been much better. The selling of Maki Ito of her busted cheekbone, like, I thought for sure she was actually hurt, and like the commentary team helped sell that too. Like, they sounded like really concerned that she was hurt after she got hit. Like, I think it was pretty early on in the match, and then rolled to the outside and kind of just sat there and held her face. Like, it was very realistic selling. I loved it. This might be my favorite Maki Ito performance. Like, she was awesome here.
Yeah, a very strong Ito performance. I also remember that when she rolled out, because I am not even sure. I mean, I didn't really look into it all that closely. I know that it was an injury. She said she would be back, but I don't actually know how much that is still affecting her in real life. I don't know, how that injury heals. Um, if it still hurts after 2 weeks, or if it's something where you're just trying to, avoid re aggravating it. But yeah, I thought it was an excellent job. and sort of gave the little, you don't want to see any wrestlers get injured, but it's a great job to use this injury to really increase the drama of the match.
Yeah, and Mizuki was just so mean here. It was perfect, just going right after it.
So before we move on to the second of the two Tokyo Joshi Korakuen Hall shows, we want to say first, this week's episode of the podcast is sponsored by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh is great. The fall is getting busy. People are going back, to their jobs. Work from home is ending. HelloFresh is perfect for people like this. HelloFresh recipes will save you time instead of meal planning, shopping, and chopping, so you can get back to what's important, have time for all the things that are happening as the world gets back.
Yeah, and like, what's better than opening your door, seeing a package, and going, "Oh, hello, Fresh."
That's exactly right.
I bet that's why it's called that.
Yeah, I bet you're right. And HelloFresh offers 50 menu items to choose from: vegetarian meals, calorie smart, gourmet options. So there is something for everyone. I love HelloFresh. I'm someone who I don't like all that much going to the grocery store for recipes. You end up getting a lot of stuff. You need a whole pound of, you need 1 cup of flour. But guess what? At the grocery store, they only sell 1 pound of flour. And so then you've got a lot of flour sitting around your house. HelloFresh makes it easy with proportioned out ingredients for all the recipes. So it is perfect for someone like me who really likes to have just what they need, save the space in my apartment for other things. So to get HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com/VOW14 and use the code VOW14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's right. That is HelloFresh.com/VOW14 and use code VOW14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So hop on this deal today. So the second of the two Tokyo Joshi shows, back at Korakuen Hall on August 15th, 567 people. So a little bit more than their first show. And the first match was a singles match between Miyu Yamashita and Moka Miyamoto. Yamashita defeating Miyamoto in 6 minutes and 27 seconds with an attitude adjustment. Kelly, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed by this. I thought Miyamoto looked really out of her depth, and in all honesty, I don't know who to put that on, either Mocha or Miyu, because there was a bunch of times where it just felt like things weren't connecting, or like there was just a lot of room in between shots and stuff. Like I don't know. It was kind of disappointing. I thought these two would mesh better.
Yeah, I was also sort of we're very much on the same page with these with these shows. I also was a little bit disappointed because, as I talked about on the first show, Miyamoto was part of that sort of opening tag match, which I really loved, and I thought that she had looked really good. And I thought, oh, maybe this is sort of a turning of the, a turning of the corner in terms of, finally, being comfortable, being more comfortable in the ring, sort of knowing what you're all about in terms of style. And I thought that this was sort of a step back from that, sort of closer to how I had perceived her coming into these two shows as sort of an interesting lower card wrestler in this company. I was not all that blown away by this. And so I also sort of my reaction was a bit of the disappointment because I was hoping that Mocha would be able to follow up the tag match with a strong singles match opportunity against, one of the better wrestlers in the company. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I wonder if like butterflies played a role in this, just like being nervous about facing the champion.
Yeah, and also I think that, it is nice to think that, oh, these wrestlers will, they'll be better, they'll get better, and every match they'll get better, better, better. But sometimes, it doesn't happen. Sometimes you have, maybe one match, you have 1 week or something where you really connect, you're doing well, and then, you might have a match that's not as good. But I think that's also part of the learning process of becoming a better wrestler. It's not just a straight line from sort of, oh, you're an inexperienced rookie to, you're a huge major star. You can get better, and then maybe it doesn't stick. And then, she could come out next week and have a string of really great matches.
Yeah, and it's also worth remembering that like for decades we didn't see matches like this where it was just like this was all in untaped shows, but now that we see everything, you see everything. So it's like if someone has a bad match, it's going to be there. And it wasn't always the case where it's like, okay, we don't see the okay, now they're a new wrestler, now they're here, now they're polished, where we see the whole ride there. So it's like, okay, you got to give people slack every now and then where it's like you're going to have a bad match, but that's just cuz we watch everything.
Yeah, and I also think with Tokyo Joshi that it is, and we have talked about this on the show in the past, and I didn't really bring it up here, but we've talked about sort of all year with these added Korakuens, more Korakuens than they've been running in the past, that sort of the in-ring um, talent has really picked up, and sort of the baseline of this promotion is much, much higher than it was, I would say, even maybe a year ago, certainly 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that it really is it really is becoming a very different company. I remember I was watching, to go back briefly to the first show. I mean, it was a show where I was like, this show is really good. And part of me isn't really all that surprised anymore to say, oh, this is a great show, because they've been delivering. I mean, really, they have not had a Korakuen to me that I look back on, at least thinking sort of off the top of my head this year, where I think, oh, yeah, that Korakuen was not good. That Korakuen was sort of bad. And they've sort of moved into this period with the Korakuen Hall shows where they are not, they started the year putting all these title matches on these Korakuen Hall shows to fill them up. Now they're not even doing that. And it still feels like they haven't really lost the step. It would be easy to say, oh, well, these were two shows with no title matches. Now you have the, Tokyo Princess Cup, which is sort of a substitution. But the idea a year ago that you could say Tokyo Joshi is going to run two Korakuen Hall shows back to back on 2 consecutive days with no title matches, and they're going to be solid shows. I think that the first show, the 8/14 show, is slightly better in my mind than this show, but I think
I'd
that they
agree.
were both really solid shows.
Yeah, no, it's that you pretty much, if you're getting a Tokyo Joshi Korakuen, you're in for a good time.
But that sort of just goes back to this match, that the standards, I think in the past, if this opening match had happened 2 years ago, you would sort of say, oh, okay, this is a Tokyo Joshi undercard match, and that's fine. The standards have gotten very high, and I've wondered in the past, there are some people that I wonder, will they be able to rise up and meet that standard and be able to move to that next level in the way that someone like Yuki Kamifuku has, like Hikari Noah has? Or is there going to sort of be, there may be this undercard of wrestlers who are going to be undercard wrestlers. Like, that is their future. Obviously you hope every wrestler, or at least I do, I hope every wrestler I watch eventually becomes the greatest wrestler I've ever seen, because that would be great for me
Yeah.
as someone who watches a lot of wrestling. But don't know. We're in sort of uncharted territory with all this stuff.
Everyone is going to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah. With Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Just slot a different person in. Yes. Yeah. As we all know, Hyper Masao one day will main event WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. Speaking of Hyper Masao, she was in the second match on this card, facing off against the Bakuratsu sisters, Nodoka Tenma and Yuki Aino. Hyper Masao was defeated by the Bakuratsu sisters, teaming with Kaya Toribami after Aino pinned Toribami with the Venus DDT. Boy, that was a bad thing that I just did. I was like, wow, this will be really slick. And it turned out I just made it worse. So I will say, this is I have a little story, which was, I was watching this match. I was incredibly distracted, not by anything in the match, but I live in an apartment and I have a buzzer for the front door of the building. Kelly has heard the buzzer.
I have
on one of these shows that I had to edit out, but the day I was watching the show, my buzzer started going off and did not stop buzzing for 3 hours.
Oh, God.
And this was the first match during which the buzzer was going off. So I was incredibly distracted by that and really do not remember much from this match, except that I kept thinking to myself, don't be distracted by the buzzer. And therefore I was very distracted by the buzzer and didn't see anything. But I think, a lot of probably my thoughts on this match would be covered by the first matches that these four had on the first show, with the thoughts on Toribami and things like that. But this sort of a standard opening Tokyo Joshi Korakuen style match.
Yeah, I would say I really hope they keep Toribami and Misao together. I think that's an interesting team, especially kind of with the hero aesthetic and the masked sidekick thing. I think that would be cool, and it would help Toribami grow as a wrestler too. So like that, I think that's a really good team, and I hope they stick with it. I also don't remember much of this show, to be honest, because I watched it sandwiched in between the last two of the Evangelion movies that dropped on Amazon Prime. So I had anime brain while I was watching this.
What anime brain? I have never heard anime. Is that a diagnosed condition?
No, but I think it comes with Evangelion just being a head trip, and you're not entirely sure what's going on, but you want to watch the cool robots hit each other and also feel depressed. So the entire time I was watching this show, I was like, man, I wonder what's going to happen in that last movie. Is everything going to be okay? The robots going to hit each other more? And they did. They did hit each other more. But so that meant there's a lot of this show I just do not recall.
Well, let's see if you recall the next match. B-Star back together, teaming again, Mirai Mayumi and Suzume, and joining with Miyu Watanabe, defeating Haruno Neko, Mahiro Kiryu, and Yuki Kamifuku after Watanabe pinned Neko with the teardrop. I don't know, maybe this is the match where Kiryu got that neck injury, whatever that injury is.
Maybe, yeah.
Neko is someone, as I just mentioned, who sort of goes in that category of, and I think I've probably said this on the show before, goes in the category of, I think, is probably a lifelong low Carter opening match wrestler. Unfortunately, it's always possible that someone like that may challenge for, a title, tag title, lower title. But yeah, I think also they've done a really good job. I was talking about back when Yuki Kamifuku lost her title, in terms of keeping her strong, was on the losing side of this match. But I think that she's still been, even though she's not in the title picture currently, I think that they've still been able to sort of keep not the focus on her, but they've been able to still sort of present her as a strong member of the roster, which I'm glad to see, because I was concerned that some of these people would sort of cycle up the card and then all of a sudden sort of fall off and disappear once they didn't hold a title or were challenging for a title. So I'm happy to say that, at least in my eyes, she still seems to be being presented quite strongly.
The one thing I'll say about this match isn't about the match at all. It's about Miyu Watanabe. I've been thinking a lot about her lately, and when she walks to the ring, it always makes me laugh because it looks like she's throwing up gang signs. And I was thinking, okay, it's time for Kelly's fantasy booking. So I had my hot take about Hikari Noa and her death matches, right? Okay, so let's say she's like, hey, I want to do a tag team death match. I'm going to team up with Jun Kasai. And then she challenges Miyu Watanabe to get someone to tag with her. Out comes MDK all fucking day, Nick Gage, to team with Miyu Watanabe. Up Girls explode, literally, in some kind of explosion death match, because, like, Onita's there too, obviously. Let's book it.
I'm trying to think what Nick Gage would look like in Tokyo Joshi after the Gone the Fox story was deemed too racy to describe on English commentary. That would be that would also be an interesting call to Nick Gage to say, do you want to come to Japan to work for this this promotion? We're going to open the show with an idol performance.
Yeah, and then one of those idols is going to be your tag partner, and she's going to look mildly alarmed at everything you do.
The next match on this show, Neo Bishiki-gun, just the tag team Mei San Michelle and Saki-sama, defeating Arisa Endo and Hikari Noa in 11 minutes and 2 seconds when Mei San Michelle submitted Endo with the appropriately named San Michelle, is the name of the move. This is one where I guess this is less of a thought about this match, but I think that this show was slightly lower than the first one in my mind, because it really didn't feel to me like there were really, until the main event, it didn't really feel like there were all that many stakes anywhere else on the card. This sort of match felt like something where maybe Hikari Noa sneaks in a roll up and they win, and then they get a title shot, a tag title shot. I thought, oh, maybe that's the direction they're going in, but it didn't look like they did for this. For this match, it seems like, oh, maybe that's the storyline part of this, is that we get sort of the next challengers out of this, and we didn't. And I think part of that was out of Tokyo Joshi's control, with Yuki Arai being taken off these cards because of the positive COVID tests in SKE 48. Because I think having those trial series matches on the undercard, certainly on the undercard of this show, and also on the undercard of the first show, would have really helped to give another match that had higher stakes than just sort of go out there and have a fun match and, entertain. So I think that it was really brought up in my mind because I think even either Chris Brooks or Balianaki said on commentary during the match, oh, maybe they'll win and they'll get a tag title shot. And then it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, that's sort of strange.
It almost seems like they're going the opposite way, where I think they may have kind of set up Saki-sama for a title challenge against Noah for the International Princess belt.
Oh yeah, that's a good. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that could be a match they're building to. I mean, It isn't entirely surprising with Endo on the team that they didn't win and get the shot. Although I don't really have a strong, as you said in the first show, Endo was on the winning side on her team with Suzume. So it's interesting to me that I'm like, I don't really know exactly where she's positioned, how quickly she's going to be moved up the card, with the number of rookies that it's her, that it's Toribami, Arai, how fast will these people move up the card, especially considering I think they're probably three of the better rookies that Tokyo Joshi has ever had. Do they move up the card faster than maybe some of the rookies have in the past?
Yeah, I think they will, but obviously they're still not there yet. I mean, they're still just a year in, not even at this point. So I'm not super surprised that they aren't like putting them in title matches yet, but I think they'll get there sooner rather than later.
Ooh, I just for some reason hit my computer. No problems over here. Everything's going very well. I don't know what that was. Anyway, I'm sorry. I guess apologies for everyone for the loud bang I just sent into everyone. That's to make sure that you're really paying attention to what Kelly and I are saying about these
that's
matches.
Taylor just slapping each and every one of you.
Hey, pay attention. We're giving you great opinions and thoughts here.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of slapping people to attention, the semi-main of this show was the Magical Sugar Rabbits, Mizuki and Yuka Sakazaki, teaming with Nao Kakuta and Pam Harajuku to defeat Aja Kong, Marika Kobashi, Raku, and Rika Tatsumi when Mizuki pinned Raku with the cutie special. This one, I sort of have the same thoughts about this one that I did about the first Aja Kong match. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked that they got a lot of people in with her, an 8-person tag on this day. So get 7 other people in, get to see a lot of really fun interactions, sort of play off the difference of styles, the difference of size with a lot of these wrestlers. So I thought this was another really fun match, a really strong semifinal match for me.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Like I said before, Aja Kong comes in, she looks good and doesn't really seemingly have a problem with losing.
And then the big match of this show, the main event, the Tokyo Princess Cup 2021 finals in 23 minutes and 21 seconds. Maki Ito defeating Shoko Nakajima submitting her with the Ito Deluxe to become the Tokyo Princess Cup 2021 winner. This was a match I felt very similar to the match from the first day. This was a match I saw a little bit later, and I had seen a lot of hype for this match. I didn't know who won. I didn't know the finish, but I'd seen, it's really great. And I thought it was another strong match. I don't know that it reached the heights that maybe other people had it. I had it as another 4.25 star match. I thought it was very strong. And another match that I think was defined to me by the emotion, by the story, more than the in-ring action. Commentary put over the fact that Maki Ito not doing the who is the cutest in the world strikes in the corner, and that she is now going by New Era Charisma. I've talked a lot about on this show about what sort of the plan is with Maki Ito, who seems to rise up. She gets the title challenge and doesn't succeed. That's sort of been her character for the longest time, is sort of this, lovable loser. But maybe this is finally them turning the corner. I thought this was a great, sort of 2-day story with her, sort of redefining who she is. She had the defiant middle finger near the end of this match, which usually signals she's about to lose. But in this one, she fought back and won. So I thought that was a really cool sort of story twist to it. So used to seeing her give the middle finger and then get pinned or get submitted. So really happy to see her win and looking forward to her match against Miyu Yamashita, which I believe is October 9th in Oda Ward Gymnasium. So that should be a big match that I am really looking forward to. But this was a great match and a great cap to what I thought were two pretty strong days, and a big feather in the cap of Tokyo Joshi to be able to run two back-to-back Korakuen Hall shows.
Yeah, I thought this was good, but I'm thinking I might be the low man on it. I just went 3.5 on it. It seemed really long to me. And like I think that might just be a me thing more than the match was bad or anything. I thought the work was fine. It just never really clicked with me. My main takeaway of it was at the very end, the Ito Deluxe that Makito had in just looked like it hurt a whole lot. And she really sunk that one in. It looked great. But yeah, I was happy to see Maki finally get the big win. Like that was really nice, and I'm super excited for the Yamashita match.
So yeah, two strong, Kelly. I think that as you said, you thought the first show was better than the second one, but I think two pretty strong showings
Yeah,
for Tokyo Joshi,
definitely.
and continues their string of very strong Korakuens. They really stepped up, and it was a question for me about, with so many more Korakuen shows for them, how they would be able to deliver. And as I said, they've had, at the very least, every Korakuen for me has been solid at the worst, which is great for them. Also at Korakuen Hall, 2 days before, Stardom had a show at Korakuen Hall on the 13th in front of 713 people. This was a big 5-star Grand Prix show. It was originally scheduled to be the first in a long string of 5-star Grand Prix shows, as we talked about on the last episode. Unfortunately, due to some COVID issues, this turned out to be Stardom's only show of the past 2 weeks, or of the past week, I should say, because a lot of shows were canceled. We'll talk more about that as we come to the upcoming show. I will run down the results quickly, and then we're going to give just more general thoughts. Mina Shirakawa defeated Hanan, Lady C, and Shuri in 4 minutes and 32 seconds in the opener. The Queen's Quest team of Azumi, Hina, and Utami defeated the Oedo Tai team of Rina, Ruaka, and Saki Kashima. There was a Future of Stardom title match on the show, Unagi Sayaka defeating Mai Sakurai, the newest member of the Stardom roster. And afterwards, Sakurai was invited into Cosmic Angels. That's a story to look out for, as Unagi Sayaka did not seem all that pleased to have her be joining. In the Grand Prix matches, Starlight Kid defeating Fukigen Death, Saya Kamatani defeating Konami, Tom Nakino defeating Maika, and Mayu Iwatani defeating Natsupoi, and in the main event, Julia defeating Koguma in 14 minutes and 31 seconds. Kelly, what were your overall thoughts on this show?
I thought this show was kind of just okay. Like nothing was particularly bad. There was a lot of like 3.25, 3.5 matches, but nothing that was really next level for me. The main event, I thought for a good chunk of it was not very good. Really didn't pick up for me until Julia busted Koguma in the mush. Why did I say moosh? Because I want the U from Koguma, and then yeah. So we're gonna start calling it moosh from now on. So she busted in their moosh, and then they both kind of started working stiff from there, and then it got good. But I don't see Koguma as like a main event caliber worker at all. Like, I went 3.5 on this. I thought it was good, but didn't feel like a main event to me.
Yeah, there were a lot of matches on the show that sort of happened and then they ended, and I thought, oh, okay, I don't really feel all that strongly about them. I mean, most of them were fairly short. Saya Kamatani and Konami went 11:05, and that was until the main event, one of two of the matches that even went over 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So yeah, just a sort of a fine show for me. I do have to say, the Future of Stardom title match between Sayaka and Mai Sakurai, I thought was terrible.
Yeah.
I thought it was very bad, and I thought it was, it's the Future of Stardom title. I totally get that. It wasn't in any sort of prominent position on this card, as you had a number of these Grand Prix matches ahead of it. But I just thought it just was not a great look for the company to sort of bring in another hyped person, debuted at the last Korakuen show, coming out saying, "Oh, I want to, wrestle here," sort of getting hype, and then turned out that I just thought even the basics of this match were not great. Running the ropes was an issue. Strikes didn't look good. A lot of it was on Sakurai, who I thought was not good. But Sayaka didn't come out of it totally in the clear either. As we've already talked about, we talked about it on the last episode. She is not an elite in-ring worker, which is fine, but in the ring with someone who is clearly has only, I think, about 20 or so matches under her belt, really needed someone to guide her, and Sayaka was not that person to do it. Sayaka had some strikes that did not look good. They had a spot in the corner with sort of shoulder blocks to the stomach, Sayaka shoulder into Sakurai, that just looked cheesy, corny, as Sayaka sort of pounded the mat with her foot. Just a match where, again, I understand it's a Future of Stardom title. It's not a major title. It's not a big match. The thing is not, oh, these are the best two workers in the company, but I thought it was far below the standards of what a good Stardom match would be, and I am sort of shocked that they brought it out. And I'm also sort of disappointed to see them continuously bring in these people who I would say are below the standards of what I would consider a good Stardom wrestler. Now, look, if you're developing rookies and the rookies come out and they're not good and they're in the opening match, that can happen, but that to me is a different story. You're saying, oh, this is just a rookie, they're coming out. Sakurai was someone who came out at the show and said, I want to wrestle here, and is getting the hype of, oh, someone's coming in, someone new coming in. And to say, oh, this person new coming in is not good is to me very shocking, and something where you would have to look, you have to look at Stardom and say, this match was not good. Why was she brought in? Like, what is the appeal here? If I
Yeah.
go to a show and I'm a fan and it's like, I just watched a show of someone who came in and this is the person you brought in and she can barely even sometimes run the ropes. Like,
It felt
what's
like
up
a
with
dark
that?
match. Like this shouldn't have been televised.
It felt like a match where, and she sort of is, because as I said, she has, I think, only about 20 matches under her belt. But then, if that's the case, bring her in and say, okay, she's going to just be someone who starts from the bottom. I mean, it's also very concerning to me that the only rookie in recent memory that they brought out is Lady C. And it seems like they've sort of replaced this rookie system with just bringing in these sort of lower card people, which I'm
Yeah,
not crazy about either.
it seems like they've just kind of given up on getting their own rookies and are just going to find and poach rookies from other companies at this point.
So, who knows, but certainly not an auspicious debut for Sakurai. I certainly hope she gets better. As I said, I hope every wrestler I see is the best wrestler I've ever seen, but not a great feeling to watch this. We sort of went through it with Sayaka, who came in and was not very good, although was better, I think, than Sakurai to begin with.
Yeah, I'd agree for sure. I think
I don't know.
Sayaka looked a lot more polished than Sakurai here.
Yeah, and I just don't know how interested I am in watching a company that just brings in sort of these lower level talents and then is like, okay, they'll sort of work it out as they get a push, which I'm
It's
not.
very
crazy about.
Attitude Era, just get hot chicks feeling to me.
Yeah, and that's always something with Stardom that is sort of in the back of your mind, that obviously the in-ring standard is very high. They have a number of excellent workers. But that's always sort of a concern that, the people who are making the decisions are at sometimes maybe more concerned with the looks of the wrestlers than the sort of the talent of the wrestlers.
Yeah. Ooh, this reminds me. I finally figured out what the Cosmic Angels logo reminds me of. It
And
feels like it should belong in like a sitcom where they go to a theme park and then there's like a space themed restaurant in that theme park. So like this would be in the fake sitcom version of like the Star Wars park at Disney, and you would go eat at Cosmic Angels.
yeah, it does. I definitely I can see that. Yeah, it is a very sort of strange. It is out of style with sort of the other logos in the company, but I think that's sort of I think that's sort of interesting to have a different feel to the logo as opposed to sort of one house style.
Mm-hmm.
But
You know who
the
probably needed this time off more than anyone? I would say Micah, because she is reaching Ishii in the G1 levels of being taped up. Like her back is looking real taped up. Her knee has got a lot of tape on it. Like I'm sure she's appreciating this time off. I mean, I should say barring if she got COVID or something, but
yeah, and I
hopefully she's
think
taking this time to rest up.
as bad as it is to have shows canceled, you never want to have shows canceled. It could be helpful for these wrestlers who this is a very demanding special schedule, especially at this time of the year with so many shows as we talked about. I think we had like 5 shows that were planned. I guess the question is, you got to make those shows up or make the matches up at some point. And does it end up being more work if you're cramming in a bunch of matches into less shows than it would be if you were just doing them as planned?
I could see this being like how the Big Japan Tag League was this past year, where we're still talking about it like 6 months from now.
Well, hopefully not. I think they're going to try. I think they're adding a Korakuen show, I think, in September. At this point, hopefully they're able to figure it out. I think they did do a good job of sort of spreading some of this out. Some of these shows that were canceled only had 1 or 2 5-star matches on them. So hopefully they're able to just slide, them to another show and get through it. But we will see. And of course, as we've learned from the past year and a half, there is no discounting that it's possible that more shows could be canceled. But the current standings, in the Blue Stars block, with 0 points, Takumi Iroha and Ruaka. Of course, Iroha still has not had any matches in this tournament, which is why she's down at 0 points. Konami and Azumi at 2 points. Utami, Sayaka Matani, Unagi Sayaka, and Suri at 4 points. And at the top of the block, tied at the top of the block, Tam Nakano and Micah with 6 points. And in the Red Stars block, Himika and Fukigen Death at the bottom with 0. Saki Kashima, Koguma, and Momo Watanabe all tied at 2. Natsupoi all by herself at 3 points. Mina Shirakawa, Mayu Iwatani, and Julia all at 4 points. And leading the block all by herself with 5 points is Starlight Kid. But as we talked about last time, we've only had 1 additional show, so still a lot of matches to go. Himika is going to get involved in the tournament in the next 2 weeks, as well as Takumi Iroha. And we will be talking all about those shows in the upcoming portion of this podcast. But now we're going to run through everything else that has happened in the last 2 weeks of Joshi Wrestling. SEAdLINNG had a Korakuen Hall show on August 19th that was headlined by a Beyond the Sea title match between the champion Ryu Mizunami and Arisa Nakajima. I did see that match. a very weird match for me. A match I went in with high expectations, two very talented wrestlers, and just something about it didn't click with me. It didn't quite get to where I thought it would. There were some very awkward moments. There was a moment when Arisa did a sort of dive off the top and missed Mizunami. It wasn't clear whether the point was that Mizunami was supposed to have gotten out of the way or it was just a weird thing. Arisa then went back up to the top rope, did the same move again, and still it didn't look quite right. Mizunami sort of kicked her on the way down, but something about it was very strange. So sort of a disappointment, a rare disappointment from SEAdLINNG. Usually these main events, especially the title matches, are all very top notch. But that show is still available on SEAdLINNG if you want to check it out. A number of other matches on that show. The semi-main, Hiroyo Matsumoto, Nanae Takahashi, and Tsukushi Haruka against Ayami Sasamura, Rina Yamashita, and Suzu Suzuki. So really fun to see Suzu in SEAdLINNG. Hopefully she will have more appearances there. Oz Academy had their big show, the Mayumi Ozaki 35th anniversary show. As we talked about, Maya Yukihi had vacated the Oz Academy openweight title. They had a match in the main event with Ozaki-gun Explodes, Mayumi Ozaki, Yumi Oka, Maya Yukihi, and Sayori Ono. And Maya Yukihi ended up winning, so gets back the title that she vacated in order to have this match. So will be interesting to see what kind of matches she can have there in Oz. Tokyo Joshi had a show on August 21st. Nothing major happened on that show. Nothing much to report from that. Just a regular house show. Ice Ribbon had some big events over the last 2 weeks, including Tax Pro Wrestling. Kelly, I know that you watched the Tax Pro Wrestling show. What'd you think of it?
I did. It was fun. Probably my favorite part of it was when they were having like some opening discussion part where I assume they were explaining some tax laws, and the tax guys brought out like a giant brick of money for all the wrestlers to hold and almost drop because it was very heavy. I thought that was fun. The what was it? Not the semi-main, but the third from the top. Maya Yukihi and Risa Sera took on Buki Hoshi and Suzu Suzuki, and that was a really good match. I liked that match quite a bit. I watched this at work because I didn't have anything else to do at the time. I was just waiting for FedEx to show up with a billion boxes that were going to rain down on me and give me something to do. But so in between ringing up customers, my coworker would watch with me. And oddly enough, the person that she came away thinking highest of was Anrio because he looks cool.
Interesting. And at work, it is an educational show.
Yep.
Learning about taxes. So you could say that you're maybe doing some on-the-job training.
Yeah, definitely.
To learn about taxes. So, and that show was on YouTube, correct?
Yep. Yeah. I think it's still there. I don't know if they pull it down or anything, but last I saw it was still up there.
So you can go see if that's on YouTube. Hopefully it is, and check that out. Also, a Peas Party from August 22nd. 2 title matches. Tekla retained her WUW title over Totoro Satsuki, and Hamaku Hoshi retained the IWGQ title over Rina Shingaki at that show. Actwres Girlz, lots of Korakuen Hall shows, lots of companies having Korakuen Hall shows. Actwres Girlz was at Korakuen Hall on the 13th. Saki retained her title over Hikari Shimizu, and Kakeru Sakaguchi and Miku Aono defeated Maika Ozaki and Tei Hanma to become the new Actwres Girlz Tag Team Champions, so a big title change there. Marvelous had a show in Korakuen Hall on August 20th. The semi-main, Chihiro Hashimoto and against Mei Hoshizuki. And the main event, Andres Miyagi and Hibiki versus Mika Iwata and Takumi Aroha. So an interesting lineup of wrestlers there. Andres Miyagi, of course, originally wrestling in Sendai Girls and sort of heading back that way. I think she's officially contracted to GLEAT.
GLEAT.
So we will see what happens there. Interesting to have her back in the sort of Sendai Girls universe, where I have the most fond memories of her. Went to Stardom, didn't really ever click there, and has sort of journeyed around I guess I would say the sort of more fringes of joshi and also just Puro in general. Wave had a show on August 22nd in Korakuen Hall. Lots of title matches on that one. Hikari Shimizu and Saki defeated Itsuki Aoki and Rin Katakura to become the Wave Tag Team Champions. Leon retained the Pure J title over Yumi Oka. And the big result, Nagisa Nozaki, the former champion, defeated Sakura Hirota to regain the Regina de Wave title. Nozaki, sort of a more controversial figure, but I really enjoyed her title reign from last year. So very excited to have her back as champion in Wave and to see what she can do there. Kelly, what has been going on with Choco Pro in the last 2 weeks?
All right, since we last had a show, they had 3 shows. In Choco Pro 145, the main event saw Makoto defeat Sayaka. And I actually like this match quite a bit. I think Sayaka right now is the most promising of the rookies they have. And it seems like I don't want to say she's finally taking it seriously, but she's, I think, able to just put more time into it. Because there would be long stretches of time where Sayaka would kind of just go away. And now she's been on pretty consistently, and she's got a decent submission game. She's getting pretty good at strikes. So I'm excited to see where she goes from here. I like that one pretty good. Yeah, can't talk. I went 3 1/4 on it. Thought it was pretty good. Choco Pro 146. Akari made her debut in Choco Pro, teaming with Swasti Kamen against Best Bros. And then in the main event of that one, Kari Yoneyama defeated Chie in a match that was a lot less obnoxious than I thought it would be, to be honest. Not a lot of just like screaming directly into the camera. That was cool. And then in Choco Pro 147, it was the Chris Brooks birthday show. Hagane Shino defeated Kirihara. I don't know. How do you feel about Kirihara? Like, because every now and then she's got little glimpses of something there, but like just it never clicks for me. And I think this is a kind of match that she needs, to where she needs to go in with a dude that is not afraid to be stiff with people, because I think her major problem is because she has like a legitimate kickboxing background, I believe, and it kind of seems like she's afraid she's going to hurt people, so she holds back a lot. And I think that's her major problem as a performer.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with a lot of people who sort of transition from the world of combat sports. I guess I'll say is that they come and you're like, oh, they've got a great sort of background in these other things. And then they come in and they're like, okay, I can legitimately hurt someone with the things I could do. Now, I'm not saying Kirihara could, that she's could destroy people, but they come in and I think they are sometimes extra cautious. I've seen that in a number of people where they come in and they're like, well, I'm not entirely sure, so I'll just hold back a little bit, and I think it ends up making things worse. And you see people like, I think the people who often transition best from the world of combat sports are people like, I'm thinking of like Shinya Aoki, who sort of came to DDT and had a more sort of submission base style to them, because then you're not concerned about, oh, I have to go out there and throw kicks and I need to throw them at, a speed in which I'm not hurting anyone else. You can just go out and say, okay, this is really just like grappling, which I think is easier to do. I think a lot of it is with Choco Pro wrestlers and one thing that I think is a bit, last year I thought that they were my promotion of the year. I thought they were great because I thought the thing that they did is they really put some of these wrestlers who I was less familiar with or I was sort of less invested in, put them in these sort of storylines to define who they were. And really, I was able to make, you know, connections with them because of these sort of storylines that they were running. And I think now they've sort of transitioned into a more, there's so many shows, and I don't fault them for this, but I think they're running much less those sort of character defining storylines. They did the one with Lulu Pencil, but Lulu Pencil had sort of been, that was a very long running one.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish with someone like Kirihara that they would sort of run these sort of storylines so that I could get connected, because I think some of these people in Choco Pro, and I don't think this is controversial to say, I think some of these people they're not going to be the greatest in-ring workers, ever. We have someone like Mei Suruga who is very good and has developed very well. Someone like Balianaki, these are people who are very good, and it is possible in Gato Move Choco Pro to have these very talented wrestlers. Riho was the last one. Obviously, Emi has been very good. I mean, Emi runs the whole thing. But I think with someone like Kirihara, I'm sort of like, she is what she is. And if she gets better, that's great. And if she doesn't, it's sort of like, that's what she is, for me
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, she's frustrating to me because it's like every now and then you can see there is something there, but a lot of times she relies on comedy, which even that she's not very good at. Like anytime she teams up with Antonio Honda, that is an immediate skip for me because I do not care at all for their shtick.
I also think that probably the two of us are on the more in-ring work emphasis, sort of, if you had a scale of all the fans of
Yeah.
Choco Pro, we probably fall further on the, what is the in-ring work like, in terms of some other people who are there for the characters and the stories, which is perfectly, valid and fine. I just think we come from a position of, what is the in-ring work? So I think that probably we have a slightly different position on her than probably a lot of other people
Yeah,
might have. And some
probably.
of that might be that comedy that connects with some people and doesn't connect with you.
Yeah. And then the main event of that show was Chris Brooks and Masa Takanashi taking on Mei and Chie, and that was a really fun match. I went 4 stars on it. Easily my favorite part of the match was after Brooks and Takanashi trapped Mei under the sink. She busted out and just had a flurry of offense that was hilarious. I can't recommend that match enough. It's really fun.
And finally, over the last 2 weeks, Pure J also had a show at Korakuen Hall on August 9th. Akari retained her Princess of Pro Wrestling title, and as you would expect, as she defended it after this point, Leon retained the Pure J title over the former champion, Kaori Yoneyama. So that is the last 2 weeks of Joshi. Coming up, once again, we have to start with the 5-star Grand Prix. There are 3 shows scheduled. They all have 5-star Grand Prix matches on them. There was a show originally scheduled for September 5th. That was canceled, I believe, because the area they were going to run in is under some sort of emergency lockdown. And so the show was canceled. However, the 3 shows that are still happening on August 28th, 4 5-star Grand Prix matches: Mayu Iwatani against Himika, Koguma against Fukigen Death, Tom Nakino against Shuri, and Konami versus Ruaka. On August 29th, there are 3 5-star matches, but also 2 title matches on this show: Mayu Iwatani against Koguma, Himika versus Fukigen Death, Maika versus the debuting, at least for this tournament, Takumi Iroha. That should be a fun match. And then the 2 title matches, there's a high-speed title match, Natsupoi against the former champion, Starlight Kid, and a future of Stardom title match, Sayaka Unagi against Hanan, which should be an interesting match. And then the last show of the 2 weeks, On September 4th, Momo Watanabe against Fukigen Death, Utami against Shuri, Takumi Iroha versus Konami, and an Artists of Stardom title match. The champions, the Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakino, Mina Shirakawa, and Unagi Sayaka against the Donna Del Mundo team of Maika, Himika, and Natsupoi. So, Kelly, what sticks out to you there in terms of matches over the next 2 weeks in the 5-star Grand Prix?
For sure on the 829 show, the high-speed title match between Natsupoi and Starlight Kid, that sounds like that could be a lot of fun. They've had great matches before. I'm excited for that. And especially because they were the ones that went to a double countout, I believe. So this is kind of a rematch from that now.
Yes, in the 5-star
yeah.
5-star Grand Prix, that was that was one of the more recent shows. Yeah, they went to the double countout and they each got 1 point.
Yeah, so this is so it'll be nice to actually have their kind of full match now. And then on the September 4th show, Utami versus Siri, like that's a rematch of a lot of people's match of the year right now, so that should be awesome.
Yeah, some strong cards. I think Iroha debuts with 2 matches that will probably be very good against Maika and Konami. So really 3 strong shows. And I think on all of these, as long as they, happen as scheduled, I think it's a great mix of, 4 matches I think is really the perfect, for me at least personally, 4 matches, 3 matches, and then, a title match is like the perfect length of, the number of matches for these sort of shows. I find, matches with 8, as we covered last time, sometimes you can get into a rut of like, okay, I've seen it. But 4, you get in, especially 2 of these shows, or all 3 of the shows actually, have a Fukigen death match. So that's sort of a break. But I think it's much easier to sort of pace these matches on a 4-match show instead of an 8 match show.
Yeah, I'd definitely agree on that. And hopefully, like we were talking about back then, they pace them out better.
SEAdLINNG has an upcoming show on September 3rd. Nothing has been announced for that yet. Tokyo Joshi has 3 upcoming shows, the August 28th, August 29th, and September 3rd. Nothing announced for those shows. Sendai Girls has a show on the 27th. It's a rescheduled show that was postponed. The main event, Andres Miyagi and Hibiki against Mika Iwata and Yurika Oka. That should be an interesting match with that Andres Miyagi and Hibiki team. Once again, they teamed up at that Marvelous Korakuen show. Ice Ribbon has a Korakuen show coming up. 3 big title matches. Hamako Hoshi against Satsuki Totoro for the IWGQ title. Risa Sera and Maya Yukihi, the new champions, against Miku Aono and Nao Ishikawa for the tag titles. And in the main event, the Ice Infinity title is on the line. The champion, Tsukasa Fujimoto, will take on Akane Fujita. That should be a super fun match, should be very good, and I'm really looking forward to that, as well as their big Yokohama show, just to let everyone know, has dropped now on Samurai, so go out and check that one out, their biggest show of the year. And then the only other thing, Wave has a show on September 1st, their usual first of the month show. So that is everything coming up in the next 2 weeks. Kelly, anything that we didn't cover?
The only thing I can think of was on the DDT Peter Pan show. There was a match that featured Hikari and Maki Ito in a exploding barbed wire bat match. So doing a death match. That was really cool. There was a good spot with Ito and Hikari both hitting each other with an exploding bat at the same time that made a big ol' explosion. So check that out on the undercard of DDT Peter Pan.
A show that I've seen has been getting pretty good reviews, so one, worth checking out. And if you watch the Tokyo Joshi shows on Wrestle Universe, you have access to that Peter Pan show on Wrestle Universe as well.
Yeah, I'm through the first half of the show, and I really enjoy it so far. I'm probably going to finish that up tonight.
Well, that will wrap it up for us. But as always, follow us on Twitter at JBombAudio. Kelly is now tweeting from that account, so you may see more tweets than you have in the past. You can also follow us at Tay Mainville, that's me, or Comic Geek Kelly, that's Kelly. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get your podcasts on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating and review. And you can donate to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumpingbomaudio. And also go to hellofresh.com/VOW14 and use the code VOW14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping from HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. For Kelly, this is Taylor, and we will see you next time.
Bye.